There comes a moment in every life when the world stops waiting for you. A moment when the pace of life quickens, when opportunities sharpen, and when time whispers a truth so clear, so undeniable, that you can no longer pretend you didn't hear it. If you don't rise, you fall. If you don't grow, you get replaced. If you don't evolve, life moves on without you. Imagine standing at the edge of a busy street. People rush past you, determined, focused, hungry. They know where they're going. They know what they want. They know what's at stake. And for a moment, you feel still, frozen, watching life sprint ahead while you remain stuck in the slow lane. But here's the truth that changes everything. You were never meant to stand still. You were never meant to watch others pass you. You were built to move, to rise, to change, to become. This audiobook is not about working harder. It's about becoming better, the kind of better that alters the entire trajectory of your life. This is the story of your rise, your evolution, your reclaiming of power, and it begins now. Chapter 1: The world won't wait for you. There comes a moment in every life when the air feels different, thicker, heavier, charged with a truth you can no longer outrun. It's the moment you look at your life, not with distraction or denial, but with absolute clarity. Almost like standing at the edge of a cliff, feeling both fear and possibility press against your chest. You sense deep in your bones that something has to change, and not tomorrow, not someday. Now, picture yourself in a vast train station. People are moving with purpose, stepping onto trains, claiming their seats, choosing their direction. The doors open only for a moment, then close with a hiss that sounds almost like a warning. And as each train pulls away, you feel the tracks trembling beneath your feet. Not because you've missed something, but because the world is moving, whether you're ready or not. That's the truth every person must eventually face. Life does not pause for hesitation. Somewhere inside you, there has always been something waiting, some unclaimed courage, some quiet whisper, insisting you were meant for more than routines you've outgrown. You felt it before in the late-night thoughts you tried to silence, in the dreams you told no one about, in the frustration that rises when you know you're capable of more than you're doing. That feeling isn't random, it's your inner compass refusing to die. The world won't wait for you, and it's not supposed to. Growth was never meant to be comfortable. Life was never designed around your convenience, and destiny has never belonged to those who choose to stand still. Destiny favors the movers, the learners, the ones who refuse to let time slip through their fingers like sand. This chapter exists to deliver a message that cannot be sugar-coated. If you don't rise, you will be left behind. Not because you are unworthy or incapable, but because the world is always evolving. Technology evolves, opportunities evolve, people evolve. You too must evolve, or risk watching your own life become a museum of what could have been. But here is the beauty hidden behind the urgency. You are not powerless. You are not late. You have not missed your chance. You are standing at the exact threshold you were meant to reach. And right now you get to decide what happens next. Maybe you've spent years waiting for the right time, waiting for a sign, waiting for confidence. But confidence does not arrive before action. It emerges because of action. The sign you've been waiting for is this moment, this awareness stirring inside you, reminding you that your life is bigger than your doubts, stronger than your fears, and more valuable than your excuse. Sometimes people imagine that improvement begins with huge leaps, dramatic exits, bold reinventions, new versions of themselves that appear overnight. But growth rarely looks like fireworks. It looks like the smallest decision you make when nobody's watching. It looks like choosing progress over comfort. It looks like refusing to remain who you were yesterday. The world won't stop to encourage you, but it will make room for you the moment you choose to step forward. This chapter is the foundation of your journey, not because it contains all the answers, but because it forces you to confront the truth about yourself with honesty and courage. No more hiding behind potential, no more watching from the sideline, no more pretending you don't have everything you need to begin. Let yourself feel the urgency not as pressure, but as possibility. Let yourself feel the pull not toward perfection, but toward progress. Let yourself feel the truth, not as something intimidating, but as something liberating. This is your life, your time, your turning point. Think of every person who changed their story. They all began at the same place. A moment when doing nothing became more painful than taking a risk. A moment when they chose the path of growth. Not because it was easy, but because staying the same was no longer an option. You're standing in that moment now. And yes, the world is moving. Yes, opportunities will come and go. Yes, the window of possibility opens only for those willing to reach for it. But here's what matters most. You are not meant to chase the world. You are meant to meet it, to rise to its pace, to claim your place within it. Not by racing others, but by outgrowing the version of yourself who once believed comfort was enough. If you listen closely, you might feel something inside you awakening, a spark, a clarity, a shift. That's not coincidence. That's you remembering who you are. That's your potential stretching its limbs after a long sleep. That's your future tapping you on the shoulder, reminding you that you have work to do, paths to walk, strengths to build, and a life to claim. This chapter is your first step, not a small step, not an easy step, but the only step that matters right now. The step where you decide you're done waiting for permission, done waiting for perfect conditions, done waiting for the world to slow down so you can catch up. Because the world will not slow down, but you can speed up, you can rise, you can align your pace with your purpose. Right here, right now, you cross the invisible line between who you've been and who you're becoming. And as we move into the next chapter, you'll discover the first real challenge you must face, the internal resistance that pulls you back into the familiar, the battle between who you were and who you're meant to be. But for now, breathe in this truth. The world won't wait for you, but everything you need to move forward is already inside you. And this moment of clarity is where your real journey begins. Chapter 2. The Battle Within. There is a moment, right after you decide to change your life, when the world around you falls strangely silent. It feels as if everything pauses, not because life has stopped, but because something inside you has awakened. It's the quiet before the internal storm, the space where your old self senses that its days are numbered. And it fights back. If you've ever stood in front of a door you knew you had to walk through, you understand this feeling. One hand on the handle, heart pounding, mind whispering reasons to wait. That hesitation isn't weakness. It is the familiar tug of your past, trying to keep you from stepping into your future. It is the first sign that you are on the edge of real transformation. This chapter is about that inner resistance, the invisible force that pulls you back every time you try to rise. Not the world outside you, not the economy, not other people. No, the deepest battle you will ever fight happens in the space between your intentions and your fear. And everyone, absolutely everyone, must confront it. Resistance shows up in many disguises: procrastination dressed as logic, self-doubt disguised as caution, excuses disguised as practicality. Sometimes it sounds like a soft voice saying, "Not today." Other times it shouts loudly enough to convince you that trying is pointless. But beneath the noise, beneath the armor and the disguises, resistance is simply fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of inadequacy, fear of losing who you used to be. Because change, even when it makes your life better, always requires a small death. The death of an old identity, the death of the comfortable, the death of the predictable. And your mind, built for survival, clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is limiting you. Think of a person who has lived in a small, dimly lit room their entire life. They know the layout by heart, They know where to step, where to sit, how to avoid bumping into the wall. Then one day, someone opens the door and shows them a vast world outside, full of sunlight, landscapes, possibility. At first, they feel excitement, but soon after, panic. Because stepping out means abandoning the room they've memorized. Stepping out means facing a world they don't yet understand. This is what your mind feels when you try to grow. It doesn't hate your future. It is simply terrified of losing its certainty. In truth, the hardest part of getting better is not learning new things. It's unlearning the old patterns that kept you small. Patterns you didn't consciously choose. Patterns shaped by your environment, your past experiences, and moments in your life when you felt powerless. These patterns built walls around you, and now that you're trying to break them, your mind acts as if you're breaking something essential. But listen closely. Resistance is not a sign that you should stop. Resistance is proof that you are moving in the right direction. It appears only when you challenge your limits. Only when you're stretching into unfamiliar territory. Only when you're stepping toward the version of yourself you were always meant to become. You'll notice this battle most intensely in the smallest choices. The moment you decide to wake up earlier. The moment you choose to focus instead of distract yourself. The moment you attempt something you've avoided for years. It's in these moments that your old self tries to negotiate with your new intentions. Your mind will say, tomorrow. Your heart will whisper, now. Your mind will say, it's too hard. Your spirit will say, it's worth it. Your mind will cling to comfort. Your deeper self will crave possibility. This chapter is your invitation to recognize that internal war without running from it. To understand that the tension you feel is not a sign of failure. It is the birthplace of growth. You are not broken for struggling. You are simply human. And every human transformation begins with a battle between who you were and who you are becoming. What matters most is not eliminating resistance, but learning to move anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement in the presence of fear. Growth doesn't require that you feel ready. It requires that you refuse to let fear make your decisions for you. This is why the world divides itself, not between the talented and the untalented, but between those who push through resistance and those who let it define them. The people you admire are not fearless. They simply stopped negotiating with their excuse. They learned what you are learning now, that the moment you take a step forward, no matter how small, resistance begins to lose its power. And the moment you realize you can act without permission from your fears, you start reclaiming control of your life. Pause for a moment and consider this. Every day you delay your growth, your old self grows stronger. Every day you take even the smallest step forward, your new self gains strength. This is not a fight you win once, it is a daily choice, a quiet commitment, a steady reclaiming of your mind. And here's the truth you must carry with you. Your resistance is not your enemy, it is your compass. It appears where your greatest potential lies hidden. The areas of life where you feel the strongest pull to retreat are the very areas where your next breakthrough is waiting. By the end of this chapter, I want you to feel one thing deeply. You are capable of far more than your self-doubt allows you to believe. You are stronger than your hesitation, wiser than your fear, and more resilient than your past. And the fight within you is not there to stop you, it is there to shape you. Because the moment you stop retreating from resistance, you begin to rise above it. As we move forward, the next chapter will take you deeper into a truth that many people avoid, the truth about responsibility. Not as a burden, but as a doorway to personal power, personal direction, and personal freedom. For now, carry this with you. The greatest battle you will ever fight is the one inside your own mind, and every victory there becomes the foundation of the life you are stepping into next. Chapter 3. The moment you take ownership. There comes a moment in every life when you can no longer pretend you don't know what you know. A moment when the truth stands in front of you like a mirror you can't avoid. It's the instant when you realize that no one is coming to rescue you, no one is responsible for your next step but you, and no one can keep you from your own potential, except the person staring back at you. This moment is not gentle. It doesn't arrive with soft music or a neatly packaged sign from the universe. It hits like a pulse of clarity, sharp, undeniable, and often uncomfortable. But within that discomfort, within that sudden awareness, something extraordinary begins. Ownership. Ownership is the turning point, the dividing line. The instant you stop blaming, stop waiting, and stop handing your power to people, circumstances, and excuses. It is the moment you declare quietly or boldly, "My life is mine." Many people never reach this point. They drift through their days repeating the same stories. "I can't because of my past. I could have succeeded if things were different. I would change, but nobody supports me." These stories feel safe because they remove the burden of responsibility, but they also remove the possibility of growth. They become a prison disguised as comfort. When you take ownership, you break that illusion. Think of a person lost in a storm. The rain is heavy, the wind is fierce, and visibility is low. At first they blame the weather. They curse the darkness. They feel powerless. But eventually they realize something profound. The storm isn't going away. Complaining won't clear the sky. Blaming won't bring the sun. The only way out is to take one step, then another, choosing direction instead of helplessness. Responsibility is that direction. Ownership doesn't mean everything that happened to you was your fault. It means everything from this moment forward is your choice. It means you have the power to shape your behavior, your habits, your future. It means you can rewrite the patterns that life tried to carve into you. It means you refuse to let your past serve as the architect of your destiny. When you take ownership, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I do with this?" There's a world of difference between the two. One drains your strength, the other ignites it. Maybe you've had seasons of your life where circumstances broke you down, times when you felt overlooked, underestimated, or unsupported, moments where life didn't treat you fairly. But here's the truth you must carry. Fairness is not guaranteed, but growth is always possible. The world might not hand you perfect circumstances, but it will always hand you the opportunity to rise. The people who get better instead of bitter are the ones who take that opportunity. They realize that even when life throws chaos their way, the response is theirs to choose. When they fail, they study the failure instead of hiding from it. When they stumble, they ask what the stumble was trying to teach. When they fall behind, they don't announce defeat. They adjust their pace and continue forward. Ownership transforms pain into wisdom, mistakes into direction, and limitations into stepping stones. And the most liberating part of taking responsibility is this: you stop waiting. You stop waiting for the right mood. You stop waiting for inspiration. You stop waiting for validation. You stop waiting for someone else to change. You start moving. You start creating. You start evolving. I once heard someone say, "The day I stopped expecting others to fix what I refused to fix myself was the day my life began." There is truth in that, because the moment you take ownership, the world stops feeling like something happening to you and starts feeling like something you are actively shaping. And yes, ownership demands courage. It asks you to admit where you've been running, hiding, or settling. It requires honesty, humility, and sometimes a painful look at your own habits. But it also rewards you with something invaluable: control. Not control over everything, but control over yourself, over your actions, your responses, your decisions, your direction. That kind of control is power. The quiet, steady power of someone who knows they're no longer drifting. Someone who knows they are steering. When you take ownership, you become the author of your own transformation. You stop letting fear or laziness write your days. You stop letting other people's behavior dictate your mood or your outcomes. You make choices based on who you want to become, not who you used to be. And that's the entire purpose of this chapter, to show you that ownership is the doorway to growth. If you walk through it, everything changes. You begin to understand why some people rise while others remain stuck. You begin to see why progress favors the accountable, not the perfect. And something else happens. You start to trust yourself. You begin to realize that you are not fragile, you are not powerless, you are not defined by your past or limited by your circumstances. You are a force capable of evolving, adapting, and overcoming. As we move forward, the next chapter will take you into a deeper truth, one that builds on responsibility and reshapes your entire approach to life. We will explore momentum, the invisible engine behind every transformation, and how small decisions compound into powerful change. For now, hold this close. Your life begins to rise the moment you decide to take ownership of it, and the person you become from here on out is shaped, not by what happened to you, but by what you choose to do next. Chapter 4. Audiobook Script. There comes a moment in every life when the world seems to pause, not because everything is quiet, but because something deep inside you suddenly speaks louder than the noise around you. It's that kind of moment where your breath catches for a second, your mind sharpens, and you realize, almost with a hint of surprise, that you've outgrown who you used to be. And whether you embrace it or resist it, that inner shift never arrives by accident. It arrives because you're being called to rise. You may not have recognized it before now, but every challenge, every delay, every unexpected turn has been leading you to this exact threshold. And as you stand here listening, something within you leans forward, curious, hopeful, and maybe even a little afraid, because growth always comes with the invitation to step into a version of yourself you've never met. This chapter is that invitation. Here, we explore one of the most powerful turning points in personal transformation, the moment you learn to look honestly at your inner landscape, your patterns, your beliefs, your habits, your hidden stories, and instead of running from them, you learn to meet them with clarity and courage, because nothing changes outwardly until something shifts inwardly, and once that shift begins, the world rearranges itself around you in ways that feel almost miraculous. The truth is, most people never take this step. They live their lives on the surface, reacting instead of choosing, repeating the same patterns not because they want to, but because they never paused long enough to question them. They carry old stories like weights in their pockets, unaware that the moment they let go, everything becomes lighter. But this chapter is the first real descent into the self, not the self you present to the world, but the one that sits silently beneath your thoughts, shaping your decisions, your expectations, your emotional responses. What you discover there has the power to change everything. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a room you've lived in for years. At first glance, it feels familiar, comfortable, predictable. But as you look more closely, you notice the clutter you've overlooked, the shadows you never questioned, the old boxes filled with memories you kept but never actually wanted. And somewhere in that room sits the blueprint of the life you're currently living. Now imagine turning on a brighter light. Suddenly, the room looks different. You see what's helping you and what's holding you back. You see what belongs to you and what was handed to you. You see what once protected you but now slows you down. Honesty lights that room, and with honesty comes an unexpected sense of power, because once you see things clearly, you're no longer trapped by what you didn't understand. The moment you name something, you reclaim authority over it, and the moment you take ownership of your inner world, the outer world can no longer dictate who you become. In this chapter, I want you to remember something essential. Self-awareness is not self-judgment. It is not about blaming yourself or wishing you were different. It's about seeing yourself without distortion. It's about understanding the patterns that formed you, the experiences that shaped you, and the beliefs you absorbed when you weren't aware you had a choice. Self-awareness is the beginning of true freedom, because when you understand why you react the way you do, when you understand why certain fears follow you, when you understand why some habits feel impossible to break, you stop fighting shadows, you start transforming them. You start making decisions with clarity instead of confusion. You stop repeating cycles that no longer serve you. You begin stepping into your life with intention rather than autopilot. This chapter is the turning point where you stop outsourcing your power to circumstances, people, or your past. It's where you begin reclaiming the steering wheel of your own inner life. There's something profoundly liberating about that realization. Nothing changes until you do, but once you do, everything else follows. And so I invite you, as you listen, to notice the quiet truths that rise in your mind. Notice the resistance, notice the curiosity, notice the moments where something inside you whispers, "This is for me." Those whispers are not random. They're signals that the deeper part of you is waking up, stretching and preparing to lead. Because the journey ahead will ask more of you. It will ask honesty, it will ask courage, it will ask willingness. But it will also give back more than you can imagine. It will give you alignment, it will give you clarity, it will give you the kind of inner strength that doesn't shake when life becomes unpredictable. And as we close this chapter, one question gently rises, an inner knock on the door of your awareness. What truth about yourself are you finally ready to see? Let that question linger. Let it sit beside you like a quiet companion, nudging you forward into the next part of this journey. Because Chapter 5 will take you even deeper into the hidden patterns that shape your reality and the remarkable power you hold to rewrite them. This is your moment of turning the inner page, and the story waiting on the next one begins now. Chapter 5. Audiobook Script. There are moments in life when the truth hits you so suddenly, so completely, that it feels as if someone has pulled back a curtain inside your mind. You don't hear a voice, you don't see a sign, yet something unmistakably shifts. It's a quiet shock, an inner jolt that makes you whisper to yourself, "I can't keep living this way." And in that instant, what once felt acceptable becomes unbearable, and what once felt impossible begins to feel necessary. This chapter begins in that moment of awakening, raw, honest, and unfiltered, because every transformation has a turning point, and this is the chapter where you claim yours. Here, we explore one of the most powerful forces shaping your entire life. The invisible patterns you've been following without even realizing it. These patterns live in your thoughts, your behaviors, your emotional reactions, and your daily habits. They form the blueprint of your choices. They decide how far you allow yourself to go. They decide what you settle for and what you fight for. And the part that is both humbling and liberating is this. Most of these patterns were never consciously chosen by you. They were inherited, observed, absorbed, carried silently from experiences you didn't fully understand at the time. But now, for the first time, you're looking at them with eyes that see. And once you see, you can never go back to not knowing. The purpose of this chapter is to illuminate the invisible, to bring awareness to the forces that have been shaping your life from the shadows, to reveal the patterns that have been guiding your decisions, so you can finally choose what truly belongs to you. Because the truth is simple. You cannot change your life until you understand the structure of the life you are currently living. Imagine for a moment that each of your patterns is a path carved through a forest. Some paths are familiar, the ones you walk every day without hesitation. Some lead nowhere, looping endlessly in circles. Others end abruptly, blocked by fears you've never challenged. And somewhere, hidden under branches and overgrowth, is a path you've never walked before, the one that leads to the life you actually want. This chapter is about finding that hidden path. To do that, we start by observing the patterns that repeat themselves in your emotional world. Think about the reactions that rise quickly inside you, the defensiveness, the doubt, the hesitation, the fear of disappointing others, the impulse to shrink when you should rise. These aren't random responses, they're learned. They formed through moments you may not even remember clearly, moments when you felt vulnerable, unprepared, or unheard. And the mind, trying to protect you, built patterns to help you survive those moments. But survival patterns aren't meant to lead you into your greatest life. They're meant to keep you safe. And safety, as comforting as it feels, can become a prison when it overrules your growth. For the first time, you're invited to examine these patterns without judgment. Not to scold yourself, not to blame your past, but to understand. Understanding is the beginning of mastery. Once you recognize a pattern, something extraordinary happens. You create space. Space to respond instead of react. Space to choose differently. Space to interrupt what once felt automatic. And in that space, your power returns. The emotional landscape that once controlled you begins to shift. You start catching the familiar thought before it steals your confidence. You notice the old fear and choose courage instead. You recognize the self-doubt and answer it with presence rather than surrender. This chapter marks the moment you stop being shaped by unconscious habits and start shaping them instead. But awareness alone is not enough. You need to understand what drives your patterns. Every repeating behavior has a root, an origin point. Some roots grew from pain, some from protection, some from misunderstanding, some from moments you were too young to process, and some from choices you made when you didn't yet know your worth. But the beauty of this moment is that you are no longer that version of yourself. You are someone who sees, someone who listens inwardly, someone who is ready. As you observe your inner patterns, you'll begin to feel something unexpected: compassion, a softer understanding of yourself, a realization that you've been doing the best you could with the tools you had. This compassion is essential. It transforms self-awareness into self-empowerment. Because when you stop blaming yourself, you free yourself. And when you free yourself, change becomes possible. As we reach the end of this chapter, consider this gentle truth. Your patterns are not your identity. They are simply old instructions, outdated maps that no longer lead where you want to go. You now have permission to rewrite them. You have permission to choose new responses, new beliefs, new behaviors. You have permission to walk a different path than the one you inherited. And as you prepare to step into the next chapter, one question rises like a quiet flame. If your life could be guided by intention instead of old patterns, what would you choose next? Let that question open a door inside you. Let it lead you forward with curiosity and strength. Because in Chapter 6, we will explore the remarkable process of rewriting your inner blueprint, how to consciously create the patterns that align with the life you truly desire. A new design awaits, and you are finally ready to draw. Chapter 6, Audiobook Script. There comes a moment in every life when you realize that the world you've been living in is not the only world available to you, a moment when you finally understand that the limits you believed were unbreakable were never walls at all, only shadows cast by old experiences, old fears, and old stories. And when that realization reaches you, it doesn't arrive gently. It arrives like a surge of light, a sudden clarity that sweeps through you and whispers, "You can build something new." This is that moment. In this chapter, you step into the space where change doesn't just feel possible, it feels necessary. This is where the old patterns you uncovered begin to loosen, and a new blueprint begins to take shape. A blueprint not defined by survival, not shaped by fear, not inherited from anyone else, but crafted by you, with intention, courage, and a deeper understanding of who you truly want to become. The purpose of this chapter is simple, yet profound, to guide you into the art of conscious creation, of rewriting the inner map that directs your life. Because once you understand your patterns, the next step is to design new ones, and that process begins not with force, but with awareness. It starts with the quiet recognition that you are no longer bound to what once defined you. You are no longer repeating cycles you don't understand. You are no longer living from automatic impulses that never belonged to your true self. Now you choose. Imagine standing at a drafting table with a blank page before you. Your old blueprint, the one crowded with familiar lines, outdated routes, and emotional shortcuts, rests to the side. You don't need to destroy it. You simply don't need to follow it anymore. What lies in front of you is an entirely new design, waiting for your hand to create deliberately. You must begin with clarity. Clarity about who you want to be. Clarity about the life you want to live. Clarity about the thoughts and behaviors that would support that life. Clarity is the foundation of transformation. Without it, you return to the familiar, even when the familiar hurts. With it, you find the courage to step into the unknown with purpose. But here is a truth many people never learn. Clarity is not a lightning strike. It is a choice you make again and again. Each time you pause, reflect, and direct your inner world toward a new outcome. So let's begin with the first building block of your new blueprint: identity. Every lasting shift begins with the question, who am I becoming? Not who you were taught to be, not who others needed you to be, not who you were in moments of fear or uncertainty, but who you truly desire to become when no one else is watching and no one else is judging. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that version of yourself standing before you. Notice how they carry themselves. Notice the presence in their eyes, the steadiness in their voice, the certainty in their steps. This is not a fantasy. This is a direction, a compass, a vision showing you the emotional frequency you are meant to grow into. Now ask yourself, what thoughts would this version of me think? What choices would they make? What boundaries would they protect? What habits would they repeat until they became natural? And what beliefs would they refuse to carry any longer? Because your identity is not something you discover, it is something you The next part of rewriting your inner blueprint is emotional alignment. Every new pattern begins in your emotional world, long before it shows up in your behavior. If you want to walk differently through life, you must feel differently about yourself. This means choosing feelings that match the person you are becoming, not the person you once were. You begin by gently releasing emotional habits that no longer serve you. The habit of shrinking your voice, the habit of doubting your worth, the habit of assuming the worst before giving yourself a chance to experience the best. These emotional habits are not truths. They're echoes from old patterns, and echoes fade when you stop responding to them. In their place, you cultivate emotions that support your new design: confidence, calmness, self-trust, patience, courage, gratitude. These aren't just feelings, they are building materials for a new life. With identity and emotional alignment in motion, you begin crafting the final layer of your new blueprint: conscious behavior. Behavior is where transformation becomes tangible. It's where the inner world expresses itself through action. It's where intention becomes momentum. Conscious behavior doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean never slipping or never falling back into old ways. It means choosing again and again and again until the new pattern becomes the familiar one, the one your mind walks effortlessly, the one your heart trusts fully. Think of each new behavior as a single step toward your future self. One honest conversation, one boundary honored, one moment of courage over fear, one choice that reflects your worth instead of your doubt. These small moments create the pathways of a new life, and this is where your blueprint becomes alive, not on the page, but in motion, in the decisions you make tomorrow, in the thoughts you allow to take root today, in the emotions you choose to nurture rather than ignore. As we reach the end of this chapter, there is one truth I want you to carry deeply within you. You are not rebuilding yourself. You are revealing yourself. You are uncovering the person you always had the potential to be, but never had the space, clarity, or courage to become. That changes now. And as you step forward, the question that guides your next chapter begins to take shape. If you could design your life from the inside out, not from fear, not from habit, but from intention, what would your next step be? Hold that question gently. Let it open something within you, because in Chapter 7, we explore how intention becomes action, and how the small steps you take each day begin to build the reality you once only imagined. Your new blueprint is in your hands, and you are finally ready to follow it. Chapter 7. The moment you decide you're done hiding. There comes a moment in every life when the truth rises like a quiet storm inside you. A moment when you can no longer pretend you're fine with shrinking, settling, or standing on the sidelines. A moment when something deep within whispers, "Not anymore." It rarely arrives with fireworks. It comes softly, like a pulse, like a gentle knock on the door of your courage. At first, you try to ignore it. You bury yourself in routine, in comfort, in the familiar rhythm of days that all look the same. You convince yourself that this is enough, that safety matters more than growth. But the whisper grows louder, and then one day, it becomes a voice you can't ignore. That's the moment this chapter is about. The moment you stop hiding from yourself. Because if there is one truth you must face on your journey of becoming better, it is this: you cannot evolve while clinging to the version of yourself that fears being seen. Hiding has a cost, and sooner or later, that price becomes too high. This chapter is about the instant you choose to reveal the truth of who you are, not to the world first, but to yourself. You see, hiding is subtle. You may not even realize you're doing it. You hide in routines that keep you comfortable but stagnant. You hide behind excuses that let you postpone your potential. You hide inside roles that no longer fit the shape of your spirit. And you hide behind the silent hope that one day the right moment will come, the perfect moment, the safe moment, the guaranteed moment. But growth never waits for perfect timing. It knocks on the door of your life when you least expect it, asking one question: are you ready to stop pretending you're small? And the truth is, you are. Even if you're scared, even if you're unsure, even if you've spent years doubting your worth, your strength, or your place in the world, you are ready, not because you feel prepared, but because something within you refuses to let you stay the same. Growth doesn't begin when you have confidence. It begins when you have honesty. Honesty about the dreams you still want. Honesty about the courage you've ignored. Honesty about the potential you buried because you feared judgment, rejection, or failure. When you stop hiding from these truths, everything in your life begins to rearrange. Let me tell you something most people never learn. The greatest version of you is waiting behind the very thing you fear facing. It's hiding behind your resistance, behind your self-doubt, behind the voice that says, "What if I'm not good enough?" But here's the beautiful irony: the moment you decide to step forward anyway, those fears lose their authority. You reclaim your power, not when the world validates you, but when you validate yourself. Maybe you've been hiding behind busyness, convincing yourself you're too occupied to chase what matters. Maybe you've been hiding behind your past, letting old mistakes define who you believe you're allowed to become. Or maybe you've been hiding behind the expectations of others, shaping your life to fit their vision instead of your own. But nothing changes until you decide you are done living small. And that moment, that decision, doesn't explode your life overnight. It simply shifts the ground beneath your feet. You feel it, you sense it, you know something is different. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop pretending your dreams are unrealistic. You stop accepting a life that doesn't feel alive. And gradually, you begin to rise. This chapter is a turning point, not because it demands perfection, but because it invites ownership. You are no longer waiting for someone to save you. You're no longer hoping someone will give you permission. You're no longer expecting life to magically open a door for you. You are the one building the doorway. And let me be completely honest with you. The world will not always be ready for the moment you stop hiding. People may not understand it. Some may even resist it. They're familiar with the old version of you, the one that played it safe, stayed predictable, dimmed their light to keep the peace. But you didn't come here to be predictable. You came here to grow, to evolve, to become the person your future is begging you to meet. When you decide you're done hiding, you reclaim something sacred, the authority to write your own story. You stop living reactively and begin living intentionally. You stop waiting for change and start becoming the change. And the world around you shifts, not because it suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Now listen carefully. This moment, this awakening, is not the end of your journey. It's the doorway, the threshold, the beginning of a new chapter in your becoming. Stepping out of hiding doesn't solve everything. It simply reveals the path forward. A path that requires courage, consistency, and a willingness to face the unknown. But that unknown, it's not your enemy. It's the birthplace of every version of your future self. And that is exactly where we are heading next. Because when you stop hiding, you don't just see the world differently. The world begins to see you, not the masked version, not the safe version, not the filtered, softened, edited version, but the real you, the one who was always capable, always worthy, always meant for more. This is the moment your life begins to shift. This is the moment you step into your own truth. And in the next chapter, we're going deep. We're stepping into the courage required not only to stop hiding, but to rise fully into the person you are becoming. Get ready. The real transformation is just beginning. Chapter 8. The courage to face the uncomfortable truth. There comes a point in every transformation where the mirror becomes impossible to avoid. A moment when life stops whispering and begins insisting. A moment when the discomfort you've been trying to outrun finally stands in front of you and says, "It's time." And whether you feel ready or not, you know deep down that this moment isn't asking for permission. It's asking for courage. The truth is this: no one evolves by accident. No one becomes stronger, wiser, or more capable by staying wrapped in the softness of the familiar. Growth demands confrontation, not with the world, but with yourself. This chapter begins exactly there, at the intersection of honesty and discomfort, where real change finally takes root. You see, facing the uncomfortable truth is not about punishment. It's about liberation, because the truth you avoid holds the same power as the truth you embrace. The only difference is whether you decide to face it. For years, maybe you've carried stories that made you feel safe. Stories about why you couldn't change. Stories about why you weren't ready. Stories about why your circumstances, your past, or your limits defined you. These stories felt protective, like walls built to shield you from disappointment or embarrassment. But eventually, walls stop protecting you. They begin trapping you. And the moment you feel trapped by your own narrative is the moment your spirit begins to demand something more honest. This chapter is that invitation to tell yourself the truth, not the edited truth, not the comfortable truth, not the version that keeps you small, but the truth that sets you free. Every person you admire, every individual who rises, every soul that breaks through their own limits. They all had a moment when they faced a truth they didn't want to see. The truth that they were relying on excuses. The truth that they were afraid of failing. The truth that they were scared of succeeding. The truth that they'd been hoping life would change without them having to change first. You are not alone in this. Every human being experiences this moment, the moment where comfort becomes too costly. And when it comes, you have two choices. Turn away and continue pretending you don't see it. Or turn toward it, breathe deeply, and say, I'm ready to face this. It's not weakness to feel fear. It's weakness to let fear lead your life. And something in you, something quiet and powerful, already knows you're meant for more. The uncomfortable truth is never about how small you are. It's about how much potential you've left untouched. It's about how many dreams you silenced because you thought they were unrealistic. It's about how many times you dimmed your light because you feared someone else would feel threatened by its shine. But here's the beautiful part. When you face the truth, you reclaim the parts of yourself that fear tried to steal. You regain your courage. You regain your clarity. You regain the ability to choose who you are becoming, instead of defaulting to who you've been. And this isn't a one-time revelation. It's a practice, a steady willingness to confront the moments that define you. It's looking at your habits and acknowledging the ones that keep you stuck. It's examining your patterns and seeing where you sabotage your own growth. It's reflecting on your choices and admitting which ones were guided by fear and which ones were guided by faith. This is the work that separates those who transform from those who stay trapped in cycles they never escape. But let me tell you the deeper truth. Facing the uncomfortable truth does not break you, it frees you. Because once you acknowledge what you've been avoiding, you reclaim the power to change it. When you see your fears clearly, they lose their mystery. When you name your excuses, they lose their authority. When you confront your limitations, they lose their grip. And what remains is you, raw, real, unfiltered, standing at the edge of your becoming. This is where real courage begins. Not with perfection, not with certainty, but with willingness. Willingness to look honestly at your life. Willingness to admit where you've played small. Willingness to rewrite the story you've been living inside. And that willingness is the birthplace of transformation. Something in you is ready to turn toward the truth instead of away from it. Something in you is tired of the weight of avoidance and ready for the freedom of clarity. And the moment you accept this truth, even quietly, even shakily, is the moment everything begins to shift. The uncomfortable truth becomes your teacher, your guide, your compass, because now you're no longer drifting through life with your eyes half closed. You're awake, you're aware, you're becoming the kind of person who doesn't hide from themselves. And that alone changes everything. So let this chapter settle into your spirit. Let it stir something deep inside you. Let it remind you that you are not defined by the truths you avoided. You are defined by the truths you're brave enough to face. And as you prepare to move forward, know this: the courage you build here will carry you into every chapter that follows. It will shape the way you rise, the way you choose, the way you walk into your future. Because now, you're not running, you're confronting, you're shifting, you're stepping into a deeper version of yourself, one that cannot be shaken by fear or limited by old stories. In the next chapter, we'll go even further. We'll explore what happens when you begin acting on these truths, turning inner clarity into outer change. Because facing the truth is the first step, but transforming your life through it, that's the journey ahead. And you, my friend, are ready for it. Chapter 9. The moment you decide to rise. There comes a moment in every journey when the world around you seems to pause, not because the noise disappears, not because life becomes easier, but because something inside you finally says, enough, I'm ready to rise. It's a moment that doesn't announce itself with fireworks or dramatic signs. It arrives quietly, like the soft turning of a page, yet its impact shakes the foundation of your entire life. It's the moment when you stop waiting for permission and begin stepping into your own power. This chapter begins right there, in that sacred, electrifying moment when the decision to rise becomes more powerful than the fear that held you back. Every transformation has a turning point, a point where desire becomes commitment, where longing becomes movement, where dreams stop living only in your imagination and begin taking shape in your reality. And that turning point is never a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. A choice you make in the quiet spaces of your heart. A choice you make even when you don't feel ready. A choice you make because the cost of staying the same has finally become too high. You've faced uncomfortable truths. You've confronted the parts of yourself that needed to be seen. And now you're standing at the edge of something new. Not because life pushed you there, but because you walked there with intention. This chapter is about the decision that changes everything. Let's be honest. Rising is not always dramatic. Most of the time, it begins with the smallest, simplest shift. A thought, a whisper, a realization that you deserve more than a life spent hiding from your own potential. You rise the moment you stop telling the same old story about why you can't. You rise the moment you decide you're done shrinking to make others comfortable. You rise the moment you understand that your future is not waiting for a better version of you. It's waiting for a braver one. And bravery isn't loud. Bravery is steady. Bravery is quiet persistence. Bravery is choosing growth on days when comfort is tempting. Bravery is showing up for yourself, especially when no one sees your effort. The moment you decide to rise is the moment you reclaim your life from every excuse that once seemed unbreakable. Think of all the times you stood at the doorway of change, but stepped back. Times when you knew exactly what needed to be done, but couldn't bring yourself to act. Times when your heart whispered encouragement, but your fear spoke louder. Those moments weren't failures, they were rehearsals, preparations. Quiet training for the strength you're stepping into now, because rising requires more than desire. It requires readiness of spirit, a sense of inner alignment, and a willingness to trust the unfolding path, even when it's unfamiliar. And that readiness isn't built in a single day. It's built in every choice you've made to keep going, even when progress felt invisible. If you're listening to this chapter right now, it means you've already done the hardest part. You stayed in the arena of your own becoming. What makes this moment so powerful is not that everything around you changes, it's that you change. Something in you shifts from hesitation to intention. Something in you shifts from waiting to acting. Something in you shifts from hoping to claim. You begin to see that your life is not shaped by the moments when everything feels easy. It is shaped by the moments when you stand, even shakily, and say, I'm moving forward. This decision, this quiet, powerful decision, is the force that turns an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. It's the reason some people break cycles. It's the reason some people rise above circumstances that sought to limit them. It's the reason some people become versions of themselves they never imagined they could be, because at some point they chose to rise. But let's take this even deeper. Choosing to rise is not a one-time act. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a commitment you make in every moment where fear tries to pull you back into the familiar. It means forgiving yourself when you slip. It means holding your vision close even when doubt creeps in. It means remembering your worth on days when confidence feels distant. It's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent. Because rising is not measured by how quickly you move. It's measured by how consistently you refuse to stay down. Every step you take, even the smallest one, is proof that your future matters more to you than your past. And here's something important. When you decide to rise, life will meet you halfway. New clarity begins to surface, new opportunities begin to appear, new strength begins to awaken within you. Not because the path is easy, but because the path is yours. Once you decide to rise, the world stops feeling like something happening to you and begins feeling like something happening through you. You start recognizing possibilities that once felt invisible. You start trusting yourself in ways you never have before. You start moving with the quiet conviction that you are becoming someone powerful, someone purposeful, someone aligned. You may not see the entire road ahead, but for the first time, you're willing to walk it anyway. So let this chapter anchor itself inside you. Let it remind you that rising is not just a choice, it's a declaration. A declaration that you will no longer live according to the limits of your past. A declaration that you're done dimming your own potential. A declaration that you're ready to step into the next version of your life, even if you don't have all the answers yet. And as this chapter draws to a close, remember this: you don't rise because everything is perfect. You rise because you are awakening to your own power. You rise because something within you refuses to settle. You rise because your future deserves a version of you that isn't controlled by fear. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it truly means to build a life that supports your rise, with habits, decisions, and inner alignment that reinforce your growth. Because deciding to rise is the spark, but learning how to sustain that rise, that is where transformation becomes permanent. And you, right now, are standing at the threshold of that transformation, ready to step forward, ready to elevate, ready to rise. Chapter 10: The Art of Sustaining Your Rise. There is a quiet power in consistency, a subtle, almost invisible force that shapes lives yet is often overlooked. You've felt it before, in fleeting moments when everything aligned and the world seemed to open up for you. But sustaining that rise, keeping momentum alive when the initial excitement fades, requires more than desire. It requires mastery of the everyday, a commitment to habits, and an unwavering belief in the version of yourself that is still emerging. This chapter begins here, in the space where ordinary choices meet extraordinary transformation. Because what you do when no one is watching, what you choose when the world is indifferent, will determine the height of your rise. To sustain your rise, you must first understand the rhythm of life. Life is not a straight path, nor is it a series of sudden leaps. It moves in cycles, in patterns, in quiet pulses of growth and retreat. If you resist these natural rhythms, you expend energy fighting against yourself. But when you align with them, when you embrace them, you find a flow that supports your evolution effortlessly. Notice how even the most successful people are governed by routines. They honor the small disciplines, the daily decisions that compound quietly into remarkable results. Rising is not just about extraordinary acts. It is about ordinary actions, repeated with purpose and consistency. It is about showing up, even when motivation is low, even when doubt whispers that progress is impossible. Imagine a candle burning in the wind. You can either shield it carefully, preserving its flame, or allow it to flicker and fade. Sustaining your rise is like protecting that flame. It's choosing to act in ways that keep your vision alive, nurturing your energy, and guarding against forces both external and internal that threaten to extinguish your light. And this is where many stumble. They rise with passion, with fire, with courage, only to find themselves dimmed by fatigue, distraction, or self-doubt. The secret is not in avoiding these challenges. They will come, but in building resilience to carry you through. Resilience is born from preparation, from routines that anchor you, from choices that reinforce your purpose daily. One of the most profound truths about sustaining your rise is this: your environment shapes your essence. The people you spend time with, the spaces you inhabit, the information you consume, all of it either nourishes your rise or drains it. Curate your world carefully. Seek out those who inspire, challenge, and elevate you. Remove what is toxic, distracting, or irrelevant. Every element of your environment should reflect the person you are becoming. It's also essential to honor your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself determines how you move through the world. Encourage yourself as you would a close friend. Celebrate progress, however small, and when mistakes occur, as they inevitably will, treat them as lessons, not failures. Sustaining your rise requires a compassionate yet disciplined mind. Let us not forget the power of reflection. Every night, pause and review the day. What worked? What drained you? What brought you closer to your vision? Reflection transforms experience into wisdom. It illuminates patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. It reveals the subtle shifts that propel you forward and the habits that slow you down. Through reflection, the rise becomes not just a journey outward, but an evolution inward. And then there is the matter of purpose. Purpose is the engine that drives sustainability. When your actions are connected to a deeper why, they gain momentum beyond the fleeting force of motivation. Purpose fuels endurance. Purpose gives clarity when the path seems uncertain. Purpose reminds you why rising matters, not just for yourself, but for the ripple effect you create in the world. Sustaining your rise is also a matter of balance. Energy expended recklessly burns bright but quickly fades. Energy cultivated carefully endures. Know when to push, when to rest, when to stretch, and when to consolidate. Honor your physical, mental, and emotional resources as sacred. They are the vessels through which your rise flows. And remember, growth is not linear. There will be plateaus, setbacks, and periods that feel stagnant. These are not failures, they are the soil from which deeper growth emerges. Patience is not passive. It is active trust in the process, in yourself, and in the unfolding of your life. Now consider the habits that will sustain you. Daily reflection, intentional action, purpose-driven focus, guarded environments, positive reinforcement, consistent learning. Each habit, like a brick, builds the foundation on which your continued rise stands. Visualize this: a river carving its path through rock. The water does not cease when obstacles appear. It flows around, over, and through, steadily, persistently, shaping the landscape itself. Your rise is like this river. Consistency, even in the face of resistance, ensures momentum. Even small efforts, applied with focus, eventually create transformation that feels unstoppable. Finally, embrace gratitude as a sustaining force. Recognize every step forward, every lesson learned, every moment of clarity. Gratitude shifts perception from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility. It fuels motivation without dependence on external validation. It reminds you that your rise is not only about achievement, but about living fully, intentionally, and richly. Sustaining your rise is an art. It is a dance between effort and ease, discipline and flexibility, vision and patience. It is the daily practice of honoring your potential while navigating the reality of life. It is not glamorous, but it is powerful beyond measure, and it is available to anyone willing to commit, moment by moment, to becoming the person they are meant to be. As this chapter closes, feel the weight and the freedom of this understanding. Rising is only the beginning. Sustaining that rise is what transforms a fleeting spark into a lasting blaze. It is what separates those who experience temporary victories from those who live extraordinary lives. And as we turn the page to the next chapter, prepare to explore the deeper truths of self-mastery, the practices, mindset, and inner alignment that ensure not only a rise, but a life fully illuminated by your own strength, courage, and vision. The path ahead is steady, deliberate, and alive with possibility, and you, right now, are ready to walk it with intention. Chapter 11. The Power of Alignment. The moment you stop struggling against yourself, a new kind of energy emerges. It is subtle at first, like a breeze brushing your skin on a quiet morning, but it carries with it an undeniable force. This is the power of alignment, the harmony between your thoughts, emotions, actions, and deepest desires. When your inner world matches the outer, everything moves differently. Doors open that once seemed sealed, opportunities appear in ways you never expected, and the rise you've worked so hard to sustain begins to feel effortless, inevitable, and profoundly joyful. Alignment begins with clarity. Too often, we drift through life in a fog of conflicting intentions and half-formed desires. We say we want one thing, but our daily choices betray another. We chase goals while ignoring the habits and beliefs that actually create them. True alignment requires an unflinching look at your inner landscape, your values, your fears, your hopes, and the courage to adjust your life accordingly. It asks you to become aware of what is in harmony with your vision and what is not, and to make deliberate choices based on that awareness. Imagine a bowstring pulled taut. If the string is uneven, frayed, or misaligned, the arrow will falter, missing the target entirely. If it is straight, strong, and intentionally drawn, the arrow flies true. Your life functions in much the same way. Every thought, emotion, and action must be directed with purpose, or the energy behind your rise dissipates. Emotional alignment is equally critical. Your emotions are like the weather of your inner world, influencing the climate of your actions. When fear dominates, it clouds judgment. When doubt lingers, it erodes momentum. When hope and confidence guide your decisions, they infuse your actions with power. Cultivating emotional alignment means observing your feelings without judgment, allowing yourself to feel fully, and then intentionally choosing the emotions that serve your highest purpose. And yet, alignment is not rigidity. It does not demand perfection or absolute control. It is flexible, responsive, and intelligent. It allows you to flow with the circumstances of life while maintaining a strong internal compass. Like a skilled sailor navigating both calm seas and turbulent storms, alignment enables you to steer steadily toward your destination regardless of the winds. Physical alignment also matters. Your body is the vessel through which your energy manifests in the world. Neglect it, and your rise is hampered by fatigue, illness, and distraction. Honor it through movement, nourishment, and rest. Synchronize your physical state with your mental and emotional intention. A strong, healthy body supports clarity of mind and emotional resilience, making alignment holistic rather than fragmented. Even your environment must reflect alignment. Your surroundings, the people you interact with, and the content you consume either reinforce your growth or derail it. Surround yourself with clarity, inspiration, and energy that echoes your highest aspirations. The more your external world mirrors your inner alignment, the more effortless your progress becomes. When you connect deeply with your intuition, with the still, quiet voice within, you access a source of guidance beyond rational thought. This is where true wisdom resides, the innate knowledge of what choices, actions, and directions serve your highest good. Trusting this inner guidance and acting on it consistently creates a life where external success and inner fulfillment are not separate, but unified. Alignment also requires patience and persistence. You will encounter moments when your outer world does not yet reflect your inner clarity. You may feel tension, resistance, or frustration. This is natural. It is part of the process of recalibrating, of realigning, of allowing the universe to catch up with your internal state. Patience allows the seeds you've planted in thought, emotion, and action to mature into visible results. The practices that cultivate alignment are simple yet profound. Daily reflection, meditation, and journaling provide clarity. Intentional visualization connects you to your desired reality. Affirmations and focused intentions train your subconscious to support your conscious goal. Each practice strengthens the bridge between your inner world and the outer reality you seek to create. Consistency in these practices ensures alignment is not temporary, but a lasting foundation for your continued rise. When alignment is present, synchronicities appear. The right people, opportunities, and circumstances show up at the right time. Decisions become easier, choices clearer. Obstacles no longer feel like permanent barriers, but temporary adjustments, teaching you how to navigate with awareness and intelligence. Life, once chaotic and unpredictable, begins to hum with rhythm, purpose, and harmony. Imagine a symphony. Each instrument, when played in tune and in time, contributes to a magnificent whole. If even one instrument is off, the music falters. Your life is like this symphony, and alignment is the conductor. When your inner instruments, mind, body, emotions, and spirit, are in harmony, your life plays a melody of fulfillment, impact, and joy. Each note resonates, building upon the last, creating a crescendo that feels both powerful and inevitable. And here is the ultimate truth. Alignment amplifies everything. Effort becomes more effective, relationships deepen, opportunities multiply, and your sense of purpose expands. It transforms rising from a struggle into an art form, where each movement is deliberate, inspired, and resonant with your highest self. As this chapter concludes, allow yourself to feel the quiet strength of alignment within you. Notice how clarity, emotional resonance, physical vitality, environmental coherence, and spiritual guidance combine to create a powerful current carrying you forward. Alignment is not an end, but a lifelong practice, a continuous refinement of the connection between who you are, what you desire, and how you act. The next chapter will delve into the mastery of focus, showing you how to channel this alignment into unstoppable momentum. Prepare to learn how attention, concentration, and deliberate energy can transform your aligned vision into tangible reality. The journey grows deeper, sharper, and more electrifying from here, and you are fully ready to take the next step. Chapter 12. The Mastery of Focus. Focus is the quiet force behind every extraordinary achievement. It is the lens through which potential becomes reality, the concentrated energy that transforms intention into tangible results. Without focus, even the greatest ideas scatter like leaves in the wind, beautiful but ungrounded. With focus, the smallest effort can create monumental change, and the most distant vision becomes attainable. From the very first moment you open your mind to deliberate attention, a subtle shift occurs. Your distractions begin to lose their grip. The noise of the world, which once pulled you in every direction, becomes background static. In its place, a clarity emerges, a clear line connecting your desires, your thoughts, and your actions. This clarity is not merely intellectual, it is visceral, felt deep within, like a current running through your veins, urging you forward with precision and purpose. Focus begins with choice. Every day, your mind is bombarded with stimuli, some meaningful, some trivial, most simply noise. To master focus is to decide consciously where your energy will go. It requires saying no to what does not serve your goals, your growth, or your vision. It demands courage, for each rejection is a small resistance against the pull of comfort, habit, or distraction. But each choice to focus reinforces your power, building a momentum that compounds silently, invisibly, yet irresistibly. The essence of focus is being fully in the moment, fully aware of the task before you, dissolves hesitation and doubt. It transforms mundane actions into deliberate steps toward your dreams. When you work with this intensity, time bends, hours stretch into productivity, and effort becomes exponentially more effective. The mundane transforms into a masterpiece simply because your attention brings it to life. Mental discipline is the cornerstone of focus. Your mind, left unchecked, drifts to fears, doubts, or distractions. Thoughts wander to what-ifs and could-bes, pulling energy away from what matters most. Training your mind to return consistently to the chosen path, like a river guided by its banks, is the work of mastery. This is not punishment, it is refinement, a shaping of your mental landscape so that every thought supports your highest intention. Focus also thrives on alignment with purpose. When your attention is directed at something that resonates deeply with your values and desires, it becomes effortless. Discipline alone is insufficient. Focus without meaning is hollow, draining energy rather than amplifying it. Identify what truly matters, what excites your spirit, and allow your focus to orbit this center. Purpose is the magnet that sustains attention when distractions scream for it. Otherwise, the power of focus is magnified by elimination. Remove clutter, reduce noise, and streamline your environment. Every object, habit, and even conversation that dilutes your attention weakens your capacity to achieve. Simplify relentlessly. Prioritize ruthlessly. Focus is less about adding effort and more about subtracting the unnecessary. The fewer things competing for your mind, the stronger each action becomes, the sharper each decision feels, and the clearer the path ahead appears. Emotional mastery is intertwined with focus. Strong emotions can either anchor your attention or scatter it like leaves in a storm. Anger, fear, anxiety. These pull energy outward in unproductive directions. Joy, curiosity, and determination. These anchor your attention, creating a magnetic pull toward what you seek. Train yourself to observe emotions without becoming enslaved by them, then consciously choose the ones that empower your focus. This emotional calibration is what transforms raw attention into unstoppable momentum. Sustained intensity requires cycles of energy and rest, periods of deep immersion followed by deliberate recovery. Even the sharpest mind loses potency when exhausted, overextended, or distracted by mental clutter. Respect your natural rhythms, honor your limits, and return to your work with renewed energy. Focus at its highest level is sustainable, not forced. Not forced. Visualization enhances mastery of focus. Picture the task completed, the result realized, the step executed flawlessly. Your mind is a landscape that bends toward what you imagine vividly. By seeing clearly the path and the end goal, your attention aligns naturally with the actions needed to achieve it. Every mental rehearsal strengthens neural pathways, making focused action almost automatic when the real moment arrives. No single act of attention is small. Each compounds, creating a reservoir of mental strength, clarity, and determination. Mastery is not sudden. It is the result of countless deliberate moments strung together, forming a thread strong enough to pull your dreams into reality. As this chapter closes, feel the subtle energy of focus within you. Notice how attention, purpose, and emotional control converge to create a force capable of shaping your life. Recognize that focus is not a skill reserved for the chosen few. It is a deliberate choice, cultivated moment by moment, thought by thought, action by action. The next chapter will explore the art of resilience, how to maintain focus and alignment even when challenges arise, when circumstances threaten to pull you off course. Prepare to discover the unshakable strength that allows you to rise above obstacles, adapt with grace, and continue forward with unwavering determination. Your journey grows more powerful with each step, and the mastery of focus is the bridge to the extraordinary path that awaits. Chapter 13. The Art of Resilience. Resilience is not a trait you are simply born with. It is a skill, a conscious cultivation of strength that allows you to bend without breaking, to rise when others fall, and to endure when the world pushes against you with relentless force. It is the quiet courage that whispers, "I will keep going," even when every part of you aches to surrender. Resilience is the backbone of every success story, the hidden engine behind every transformation, and the invisible force that separates those who endure from those who falter. Imagine a tree in the midst of a storm. The wind lashes, the rain beats, and yet it remains standing, not because it resists the storm blindly, but because it bends, adapts, and absorbs the pressure without losing its core. Human resilience works in much the same way. Life's storms, failures, setbacks, disappointments, unexpected changes are inevitable. Resilience is the capacity to weather these storms, to stay rooted while remaining flexible, to maintain your inner equilibrium even when chaos surrounds you. The foundation of resilience is self-awareness. To navigate hardship effectively, you must first understand yourself, your limits, your triggers, your deepest values. Self-awareness allows you to recognize when stress is building, when doubt creeps in, and when fear threatens to paralyze action. It is through this recognition that you gain the power to respond rather than react. The resilient individual does not ignore discomfort. They observe it, learn from it, and then redirect it into strength. Resilience requires adaptability. Life rarely unfolds as planned. Unexpected events, failures, and obstacles are inevitable. Those who crumble are rigid, clinging to a single vision of how things should be. Those who thrive bend, adjust, and innovate, turning obstacles into opportunities. Every setback becomes a lesson, every challenge a stepping stone. Adaptability is not surrender. It is strategic intelligence, the conscious choice to pivot while keeping your ultimate goal in sight. Emotional mastery is another pillar of resilience. Strong emotions can either imprison you or empower you. Anger, fear, and despair pull you into a vortex of inaction, while calm, determination, and hope guide your steps forward. Resilient individuals learn to navigate emotions without being controlled by them. They experience fully, but they do not let emotions dictate outcome. Instead, they harness their inner states, using them as fuel to maintain momentum, clarity, and courage in the face of adversity. The practice of resilience is forged through experience. Every challenge you face, every difficulty you overcome, adds to your reservoir of inner strength. Each trial is an opportunity to practice patience, perseverance, and courage. The key is not to avoid hardship, that is impossible, but to approach it with intentionality, viewing each obstacle as a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Resilience is built in the crucible of life's trials, and the more consistently you face challenges with awareness and determination, the more unshakable your spirit becomes. They understand that life is a series of peaks and valleys, that no moment of difficulty lasts forever, and that every setback contains the seed of renewal. Perspective allows you to see beyond immediate pain, to focus on long-term growth, and to make decisions rooted in clarity rather than reaction. It shifts your mindset from victimhood to agency, from despair to proactive engagement with life's complexities. Even the strongest individuals are not meant to endure alone. Seeking guidance, sharing burdens, and leaning on a network of trusted relationships provides emotional replenishment, insight, and encouragement. Resilience is not isolation. It is interdependence combined with inner strength. It is the ability to stand on your own while also knowing when to reach out, when to receive, and when to allow connection to fortify your resolve. Those with a compelling vision, a deep sense of why, and a commitment to a meaningful path can endure hardships that would overwhelm others. Purpose provides a compass, a reason to rise each morning, and the motivation to persist even when progress seems invisible. It transforms suffering into growth, struggle into learning, and setbacks into stepping stones toward fulfillment. It is the decision to keep moving forward, to face challenges head-on, to recover and rebuild with intentionality and grace. It is the knowledge that no matter how powerful the storm, you possess the inner resources to withstand it, to adapt and to continue on the journey toward your highest potential. Recognize that every challenge you have faced has already contributed to your resilience. You are capable of rising again, stronger and wiser, no matter the obstacles before you. The path forward is illuminated not by the absence of difficulty, but by your ability to respond with courage, awareness, and unwavering commitment to your purpose. The next chapter will explore the profound power of intention, how to channel your focus, resilience, and energy toward creating the life you truly desire. Prepare to step into a space where your inner strength converges with deliberate action, where every choice moves you closer to mastery and fulfillment. Your journey continues, and the most powerful chapters are still ahead. Next, and audiobook end. Chapter 14. Mastering Intention and Embracing Your Future. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the life you truly desire, not the life shaped by expectations, limitations, or what others think is possible, but your life, fully realized, vibrant and alive. Notice the colors, the sounds, the emotions. Feel the satisfaction, the peace, the joy of living exactly as you envision. That vision is not a fantasy. It is a blueprint waiting for you to step forward with intention, courage, and focus. Intention is the invisible hand that shapes reality. It is more than wishful thinking. It is deliberate, conscious alignment of your thoughts, feelings, and actions toward a specific outcome. When your intention is clear, your energy becomes magnetic, drawing opportunities, people, and circumstances that resonate with your vision. Every decision, every action, and every thought becomes infused with purpose. You move through life with clarity, direction, and an unwavering sense of what truly matters. To master intention, you must first cultivate awareness. Notice where your attention goes. Observe the patterns of your thoughts and emotions. Are they aligned with your vision, or are they tethered to fear, doubt, or distraction? Awareness allows you to make conscious choices, to redirect energy away from what does not serve you and toward what empowers your growth. It is the first step in transforming intention from abstract desire into tangible reality. Next comes focus. Your mind is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it must be directed. Every moment spent scattered or reactive dilutes your potential. Focus is the discipline of attention, the ability to immerse yourself fully in the actions and thoughts that propel you forward. By focusing on what matters most, you create momentum, build mastery, and gradually transform small, consistent steps into extraordinary outcomes. Action is the bridge between intention and reality. A vision without action is a dream deferred. Action without vision is effort wasted. When intention is paired with consistent, purposeful action, life begins to respond. You move from possibility to progress, from planning to manifestation. Even small, deliberate steps taken daily compound into transformative change over time. Action is the heartbeat of creation, and it requires courage, persistence, and commitment to your highest self. Belief is the unseen fuel that sustains intention. You must believe in your capacity to create, in your worthiness to receive, and in the inevitability of growth, when aligned with purpose. Doubt is natural, but it is also optional. You can train your mind to nurture belief through reflection, visualization, and the affirmation of your own power. Belief is not arrogance. It is acknowledgement of your potential and recognition of the agency you possess to shape your life. Equally important is patience. Intentions do not always manifest overnight. Life unfolds in rhythms and cycles, and the timing of outcomes often surpasses your understanding. Patience allows you to trust the process, to remain committed without being discouraged by delay, and to continue acting in alignment with your vision, even when results are not immediately visible. It is the quiet assurance that effort and alignment will ultimately bear fruit. Gratitude amplifies intention. When you acknowledge the abundance already present in your life, you shift into a frequency of receptivity. Gratitude transforms perspective, turning scarcity into appreciation, setbacks into lessons, and moments of waiting into opportunities for growth. It is the lens through which intention becomes not only powerful but joyful, meaningful, and deeply connected to the richness of life itself. As you cultivate awareness, focus, action, belief, patience, and gratitude, your life begins to reflect the clarity of your inner vision. You discover that you are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the creator of experience, the architect of your reality, and the master of your journey. Every choice you make, every thought you nurture, and every step you take becomes a brushstroke painting the life you have imagined. Take a moment to embrace this truth. Your future is not a distant possibility. It is being created with every breath, every intention, and every action you take right now. You are capable, worthy, and ready. The obstacles that once seemed insurmountable are now opportunities for growth. The challenges that caused doubt are now catalysts for mastery. Your resilience, your awareness, your courage, and your clarity converge to guide you toward the life you were meant to live. This audiobook has been a journey of awakening, of discovering your inner strength, and of realizing the profound power you hold within. You have explored self-awareness, resilience, purpose, intention, and the practices that align your mind, heart, and actions with your highest potential. Now, as you close this chapter, understand that this is only the beginning. The tools you have gathered, the insights you have absorbed, and the reflections you have considered are yours to apply, expand, and embody every single day. Step forward with confidence. Move through life intentionally, resiliently, and with unwavering clarity. Your choices matter. Your actions matter. Your vision matters. The life you have imagined is waiting for the courage, the focus, and the intentional energy that only you can bring. Embrace it fully, pursue it relentlessly, and celebrate the journey along the way. Remember, the greatest power you possess is your ability to choose thought over reaction, action over inaction, belief over doubt, and vision over uncertainty. As you walk forward from this moment, carry the knowledge that you are the author of your story, the sculptor of your destiny, and the master of your own experience. Your journey does not end here. It continues with every conscious choice, every intentional step, and every moment you decide to live fully aligned with your highest potential. This is your life, your creation, your masterpiece. Embrace it and step boldly into the extraordinary future you are destined to realize. End of audiobook.